By leaving somewhere and start living somewhere, you also forego certain thing and you also gain something. So there's always exchange. Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of La Copie, Henri and Mike. Today is the 12th October 2022. It is a Wednesday.
October is somebody's birthday.
Yeah, it is at the moment 1:05 p.m. here in Zurich time, and I'm overlooking the Zurich Sea, like Lake of Zurich. So where are you now, Mike? How is everything doing?
I'm still in Singapore and it's October at 7 p.m. here. You can see the sky at the back. Anyway, It's your birthday, so I would like to sing you a happy birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Henry. Happy birthday to you.
Yay! Finally, I made it to 18 years old. What a long time to get to 18, isn't it? How the time flies, yeah. It's kind of funny when it comes to this day. It used to be that I have to really do something about it. Party, go to drink, or celebrate, blah, blah, blah. But now I can't just take it slow. This morning I woke up, I'm like, I just want it to be slow, peaceful. So I brought myself to a conditorei or bakery kind of. I order espresso, I order meringue, lemon tart. Gipfeli is called here. It's like a butter croissant. That was delicious. Yeah, so I wrote my diary as well. It took some time and some friends called, which is really lovely of them. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Tell us more about the happenings in Zurich.
This is my third day here. I'm flying off tomorrow, so I mean it's a very short stay but very quality because I get to spend time with this close friend of mine whom I'm not going to reveal the name because she's very private. It's a she. We had a really great conversation as always. I know her since Liechtenstein. As I mentioned, it's a decade ago. It's crazy how the time flies. So yesterday she was driving, so she drove us to the mountain. We went to Zurich. So on the eastern part of Switzerland. It's about 2,262 meters high. This is my third time there. The first time was also with her. It wasn't successful because we didn't realize that gondola wasn't working, so it was very seasonal a few years ago. And then second time was with her as well, and also another friend of mine from Singapore, Eve. So we went all the way up there, but that was in 2019, 29th of February, I remember, just before all the lockdown happens. So we went up, and back then it was snowing really, really heavily. And then we did have a tour, like a bit of trekking on the snow, like one round, but that was a lot of effort because the wind was so strong. And we did manage to see Liechtenstein from that part of the mountain peak. And yesterday we went all the way up. It was nice because at the moment it's autumn, right? So you get to see the leaves changing of the color. So the whole valley is kind of like dotted with orange, red, brown, kind of green. It's like really beautiful. So we went up there and then we had coffee, espresso, also some of the Swiss delicacy, let's call it this way. And also we did go for a little hike to have a look on the other side of the mountain. You can see a lake down there. Traveling either from Zurich or from Germany, you have to pass through that lake, go around the lake and get into the Liechtenstein Valley. Back then, all of us have to do that all the time, traveling in from different area. But it's beautiful. I mean, back then we were also stressed out, studying for our master in banking and financial management, that program. I mean, we did party, we did had a great time, but at the same time, most of the time was really studying and really preparing for exams and preparing for presentation. There's always a lot of things going on. So yesterday we talked a lot about our student time, how we first met each other. My version was that I met her in a bus that she got on and she started to talk to us. And her version was that she came into the class to the first lecture and she was sitting next to me. I couldn't remember that part, but I mean, everyone has different version. But somehow, we met, so that's the most important. But I have to say, it's really nice to go back to Liechtenstein because I have not been back for 8 years. Walking up the staircase again, the little mountain, having a view, the mountains behind, looking at the cows in front of the university. It was just lovely. And we have so many memories that we collected all together. We actually was talking about, hey, maybe we should go and check out the Institute of Finance to see whether the professor is still there. So we just walk up to the institute and check, but he wasn't there. So in the end, what we did was we walked to the university, to the library, and just have a look, for the nostalgic purpose. And then we walked down the lecture hall. We saw him just finishing lecture. So I think our message to the universe was very strong. And then he saw us and he said, what a surprise.
Mastermind, what brought you guys here that we are meeting at
exactly.
I don't think.
I know, right? So it was really very genuine, and it was nice to see him again after 8 years, you know. We asked him, so would you like to have a coffee with us? Shall we just like catch up over a coffee? They said, yeah. So we went to the canteen and we sat down, and basically we just pour out like professionally, privately, what's been happening in the last 8 years. Things change so much, like not only professionally but also privately. Like everyone's on their own path, everyone is doing their own thing, everyone experiences different things as well. I had a great day yesterday though, it was just beautiful. And then she was telling me, so Henry, when are you actually moving to Zurich? You know, she has been saying that in the last 8 years. It was funny, I was writing on my diary this morning, like we used to have that dream when we were doing the wealth management lecture. Can you imagine one day when we graduated, we all moved to Zurich, we're living there and we're working for either UBS or Credit Suisse in the wealth management sector. And then she can use her Russian language ability, I can use my Mandarin Chinese ability to kind of serve the high net worth wealth individual clients, blah blah blah. Everything was so painted so beautifully, but we have absolutely no idea. We have absolutely no idea how the reality is. So eventually she moved to Zurich and then she pursued that path, and I moved back to Frankfurt, and then thereafter to different places, to Munich, to London, to projects around the world. It was crazy. I mean, like somehow 8 years just passed so quickly, you know. Felt like you had a different life. I think that was a very valid question, you know, always wondering where should I be. I mean, I feel like I'm a wanderer. I always want to experience different life, you see. But by leaving somewhere and start living somewhere, you also forego certain thing and you also gain something. So there's always exchange, you see. But I think to some extent now I really would like to have a base, especially in Europe, you know, to establish that base again and for a longer period of time. And I just need to travel whenever I need to. That's about it, I think. And I really can see myself in Zurich, or seeing myself running along the lake and see myself walking my Hungarian Wisla, cycling up the mountains around the lake. Also see myself doing rowing in the Zurich Sea. Maybe 8 years ago, to some extent, it wasn't also my time for it, you know, for all this. It was meant to be that I leave and to go somewhere, because first of all, my paper wasn't right back then in terms of like application, because they do have like priority for people who are from Switzerland or from the EU countries. And then if you don't hold any of those passports, then you will be on the third in the ranking wise, you see. So they won't really want to sponsor you the visa, so that's really hard. But eventually I fixed that problem, so that's why I stayed in Germany for a long time. And also it trained me to some extent. If there's no training in Germany in somewhere that like the language or the study or the working experiences, I don't think I'll be where I am today, you see. So a lot of time the plan is there, but you will not necessarily go a straight line, you see. You will like go around in a way. But I think now I'm more settled. I feel like this time around in Zurich, I really feel like my heart is at ease. Not only because I mean this friend of mine, she's here, we just had a great time like talking, and also I can feel the city. I can feel that this is where I want to be. You know, previously all those cities that I've been, it's really for different purposes, like move for the job, moving for some paperwork, moving for career development, moving for relationship and stuff like that. But now I'm doing this for myself and I can feel like I'm at ease with it, you see. Like this is the place I want to be. Of course, there are a lot of things I need to sort it out, like job application, how do I find a job here, and how do I go about doing an interview. It's a process, but I think more or less my heart is determining where I want to be, you know, from this point onwards, especially in Europe over the next few years.
Do you call this like a same but different? I mean, just right now you are sitting in your friend's place at Zurich, and you were trying to reflect back 10 years ago. Both of you had this dream of going to wealth management. She did that, and then you wander around for different reasons that you mentioned just now. We describe this as same but different. Same in the sense like you have a dream back then. You also have a dream right now. What's the difference is because of the 10 years of adult experience under your belt, you know yourself better, and you can feel like what you say, that you feel Zurich is the place for you to be as compared to all the other cities. Could you really pinpoint to a specific thing?
If I didn't do what I have done during those circumstances, during those years, I would not be where I am today. Yeah, even though I tried back then to keep coming to Zurich, but half 50% of my heart wasn't like fully in. The other 50% was more external factors. Looking back, I didn't put myself as a priority, like fully committed 100%. And that's something I want to change from now on. I'm only going to move a place that I really feel at ease. I can see myself doing certain activities there, you know, going to CrossFit, going to the mountain, which I really adore. You can see Alps from here. There's a lot of nature. I can do outdoor sports. In the winter, I can go skiing. Switzerland is, to some extent, very similar to Singapore, whereby it's very diverse, very international. So there are 4 national languages here. You have German, Swiss German, French, Italian, and Roman, I think it's called. And the English, obviously, everybody speaks, right? It's an international language. When I was growing up in Singapore, there's a social science class. Oh, sorry, it's not social science, social studies. On the lesson, one of the chapter is about case study of Switzerland in comparisons to Switzerland and Singapore. So they were introducing what are the similarity and differences between Switzerland and Singapore. And that chapter, I remember so vividly because the teacher came in, she's an Singaporean Indian, Rosemary maybe, yeah, but she was very eloquent in her speech and the way she delivers herself, the way she tells story. There's always a spark in her eyes, and you just really believe in what she says. And then she was saying, like, she went to Switzerland with her family back then, just before she taught us this chapter. And she said the landscape was beautiful, and she mentioned that she was there in autumn time, and the mountain was just next to her, so close, and she can see the color changing, like from the leaves. And that was exactly the moment this friend of mine, she was driving yesterday. I just remember that moment. This Rosemary, this teacher of mine, say that to us when I was 16, 2 years ago. When I was 16, that image, that image came back. Yeah, and also I remember in the textbook there was like, they were telling us about Switzerland is made of cantons, and every canton you learn your first language. Like for instance, when you're in a German-speaking part, you learn German first. When you're in a French-speaking part, you learn French. And the second language, you learn the other canton's language. It could be French, German, Italian, whatever it is. And then you learn English as a third language. So people in Switzerland, they're very multilingual, it's just in their blood somehow. I used to have a few projects here in Basel, and it's amazing how they switch between languages when they see different counterpart talking to them. But to some extent, it's very similar to Singapore, right? To whom you talk to, you switch, you do the code switching as well, like Singlish, English, standard English, or Mandarin, or different dialects of Malay and Tamil, or different languages from India as well. So that's the similarity part. And I remember on a picture of the chapter, there's this tram in Zurich. So the white and blue in color on the exterior, that's the color of Zurich. The tram was being taken, that photo was taken on Bahnhofstraße. It's like a Singapore's Orchard Road kind of thing, like most got a shopping area, also the most financial area there. Yeah, so that was one picture. The other picture was the farmers. They were wearing their own costume from different region in Appenzell, and they're blowing that long wooden thing.
The Swiss horn, if I'm not
Swiss horn, yeah. All these things from that chapter, from that social studies class, and also the storytelling from that teacher of mine. I just said to myself at that point of time, one day I will want to be there. I want to see it myself. And I remember I made it. Like I went to Liechtenstein. It wasn't Switzerland, but I went to Liechtenstein. It was close enough.
Very close. Okay.
And I was working in Switzerland and also coming to Zurich all the time. And 2 years later, I'm here.
Do you think that this trip for you, even though it's very short, I suppose that 4 days, 3 nights, but it's a good pit stop for you to recollect some of the memories with your professors, your close friends, through all these conversations, you'll be recharged and you know better where to go ahead from here right now?
I think so too, because sometimes you do need that certain support, you see, to remind yourself who you are and where you want to go. And also we talk a lot about like the past, which is good. Like you have certain nostalgic recollection over there, like share common memories. But also I think one lesson I'm learning is certain things from the past that is no longer serve me. I need to cut it off. I'm that kind of person whereby I linger, and that sometimes prevent me from making important decisions. So I think I need to be very honest with myself, with regards to the career that I'm going to choose. So those are still a big unknown, but I do know that I have the skill sets, And also I know from the language wise, I have no problem. I can work in German. Okay, Swiss German is something else. I have to get used to it. It's funny, I speak German, right? But what the German I speak is called Hochdeutsch, like standard German. So when the Swiss, when they speak German to me, they will try to speak Hochdeutsch, but their accent is very strong because they're speaking Swiss German. Schweizerdeutsch, the vowel they can change, and the way they pronounce the vowel can be different. They have a lot of dialects inside. A lot of time I don't know. Like I need to go along with the keywords, or I'll ask again. Or sometimes just ask in English, like, I didn't understand that. Could you say that again? I think it should be fine. I mean, I can recognize some words they say, and then I need to tune my ear into them. So it's okay. How about you? How's your week then?
Same thing, hospital runs with mom. Worst day for this particular cycle is behind us. 2-3 days I've been out with her as much as possible to walk around, basically. That also resulted in questioning some of the things that I talked to her about, because she has been telling me, because it's the fourth cycle, right? She has been feeling better during this cycle because the fact that almost at every day's hospital run after that, we will go for a short, really long or short, like maybe a 1 km to 2, some can be even longer. And she said that she felt better overall in terms of her body condition. She can eat more, she's feel more energetic, her mood is better. And then I was asking myself, like, what did I do different this time around as compared to last couple of cycles? Yes, we still walk, but the frequency of walking, exercising increased a bit. And also, I brought her more towards the nature this time around. I asked her, do you think like this nature thing helps you a lot? And she said 2 things to me. Number 1 is she really loves the smell from the plants around. Different plants give out different scents. The second thing she said was actually the noise, the nature sound that's coming out. What she mentioned is something that I can resonate a lot with it, because more often than not, when I talk to you and talk to mom, or talk to friends around who knows that I love outdoor, there's a common thing that comes with this, which is we love this being outdoor with the sunshine shining on us. We love the vibe that goes around. So that's where I actually went around to see, like, are there any authors out there who actually did some research about this to really substantiate this point that mom was saying, and why do I resonate so much with it? And then I came across this book. It's called The Nature of Things by this author called Florence Williams. She's a New York Times and National Geographic journalist. The core thing about this book is why nature makes us happy, healthier, and more creative. So what she did was, like, she traveled around the world and then she did researches, and she worked with researchers, psychologists, and all this to participate and help them to attempt to demonstrate like the different ways of being around nature and whether it's good for us. There's a few key points that she said, which was exactly what mom said. This part about the nature of science, there are 3 things that she said. Number 1 is the nature of forest smell, right? The science behind it. And then the nature of the noises, as well as the nature of the sight. These are the 3 things. So about the smell is that she said that smell holds power over human beings because generally it is a direct pathway to the brain. The scent released by forest, there are 3 things very specific. Number 1 is the phytoncide, which is 酚多精. So it basically is a substance that is given out by a plant. So it's supposed to be shown scientifically to be antibacterial and stress reducing in terms of the properties. So this is something that mom mentioned, like it helps her to feel better, to feel more energetic. This is one of it. The other one is this thing called geosmin. So this is a compound found in the soil that actually have antibacterial properties. And the last thing, coniferous essential oils. So this is the kind of like a scent that's given out by coniferous trees, things like your pines, your cypress trees. And this helps to fight allergens. You know, it lowers your cortisol, which is the stress hormones, and also reduce the symptoms of your asthma, helps you breathe better. 针叶树.
Okay.
So coniferous can be things like pine.
So the leaves are a bit pointy kind.
Yeah, pointy.
Okay.
I think in Germany and Switzerland, there's probably a lot of this kind at high altitude mountains.
Yeah.
In Taiwan,
it's a temperate kind of vegetation. In
Yes,
Taiwan, they have
correct.
it too, but it's in the mountain. It's
in a
higher
mountain.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 scientific properties have very strong medical linkage that says a lot about what the trees can do to human bodies. Second thing is about the noise. She did studies and she mentioned that it's shown through the study that, you know, exposures to things like your plane, your traffic, all the noises around, you know, it makes a human being like us nervous, elevate the heart rate, and then blood pressure, as well as the stress. So more often than not, when you ask somebody, they will say that they would not want to be in an urban city because it's very noisy. When I read that, now I realized that, hey, that's exactly what you said to me. You know, when you go to Vietnam, you're trying to find a place, and then you ended up at Hue An, right? And then ask you that, why don't you want to go to places like Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi? And you mentioned to me like the traffic there,
it's very stressful.
It stressed you out so much. This was so like, wow, that's exactly why we feel that way. And then the last thing we were talking about is the site, the nature site. She said that, you know, they did studies within the hospital. And then they found that hospitals with the view overlooking outside with windows, with light coming in, it will actually lead to a better
recovery.
outcome. So even other studies that she has cited by talking to different experts in this field, things like office to school to housing projects, they are essentially linked to natural view. It will lead to more like higher productivity, lower job stress, and even like a better grades for students or less aggression. This is where I also realized that this is so true. When I moved to the current place I have, I keep telling mom that I love this place so much. I can hear the sound of water, I can see water, and I'm very, very near water. The river's just down where we filmed the other day. So whenever I go there, I feel so peaceful. As we were talking about mom, remember when she went for her surgery? It's the same thing. She made a specific request that can she actually obtain a ward that's individual and is facing outside with the sunlight coming in, so she'll feel better. But with this, the question I have is like, what are some of the benefits other than this other scientific thing? And she did provide some study as a result, is that it just really leads to an improved like cognition and creativity in a human being. It reduced like the income disparity and the income related health diseases. And of course, we mentioned just now, like you lower the stress and anxiety, your blood pressure, heart rate, all this goes up. So these are the benefits. So the question I have for you just now, when you talk about the noise, all this kind of thing, it's like, how do you think we can really achieve a good balance between modern lifestyle and nature? Generally, urban lifestyle will be things like you have a very high technology usage, it's a densely populated place, highly stressed because of the job and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the time leads to one thing, which is the mental illness.
If you can make that choice where you want to be, for instance, like for my case, I can choose between London and Zurich, but London will be very stressful. So I would rather not do that anymore. It's a nice place to visit, but to live there, to work there, I think it's just too stressed out. I don't want to do it. But Zurich, I think, is a very good balance. The quality of life is very high. You have the natures around, the water, the mountains, the culture, the food. I think in Singapore, you guys can do it as well. Like we have always been doing in the last few months. I mean, you can't change the fact that Singapore is a city-state, but there are also pockets of greens that you can go to. All the park-connected network, all the offshore islands, tropical rainforest area that's still preserved for people to go for a quick hike, and then also reservoir. You just have to make an effort. It's still come down to choice itself, like how do you balance between city life and also a slower kind of lifestyle.
I think more often than not, like we forgot how government, city-states, what they are doing to really shape this entire ecosystem environment for us. And I have always appreciated outdoors, but I have never really give a very careful thought about how our government, specifically about Singapore, has done in terms of connecting all these greens up. Because really, we don't have much natural resources, and they really try to preserve whatever we could and do a lot more man-made stuff to connect, so that as we try to go toward the economic aspect of things, we also talk about the well-being, mental well, and also physical well-being.
Exactly.
As a city-state, I feel that you made a very, very strong point there. And I really appreciate that.
Wait, so in that case, do you already have the words for this week?
Vitality.
Vitality. Okay, I think priority is a good thing. So the words for this week are priority and vitality. So with that, we can come to a conclusion of our episodes, and it was a really lovely catch up. Please be kind to yourself.
Don't forget to smile. Keep each other.
Take care of each other. And don't forget to subscribe to Henri and Mike. We shall keep you updated in the very next video. Ciao, ciao. Tschüss.